Next in our Empower interview series, I'd like to welcome Rob Kelly, Product Manager at Broadridge. We'll be discussing the topic of pricing strategies in asset management. Welcome, Rob. So how have investment management fees changed over the last year?
The turmoil of the last year has not led to any respite or deviation from the downward pressure on fees that we've seen over the last several years. Competition between asset managers for new business, plus renegotiations to keep hold of existing clients has continued to put downward pressure on asset managers' finances. Utilizing data from Broadridge's GMI fees module, we can put some solid numbers behind how fast fees are indeed coming down. If you look at the right-hand side, you can see across all product groups, fees are about 1.5% lower than they were a year ago. And we can see which asset classes they're coming down particularly fast in. For example, we can see on the left-hand side, the equity fees are down about 5% lower than they were the year before, compared to fixed income fees being about 1% lower than the year before. But even within that, that's where there's some product groups that are coming down even faster. We can see EMD there as one that's been particularly badly affected over the last year, and asset managers are going to have to get used to this low fee environment in the future.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, Rob. And how important is pricing proving in the competition for flows?
Sure. If we look at the slide here, we can see that what we've done is we've got each of the managers that we track the fees and business for, and what this shows is that whilst being the lowest priced is no guarantee of winning flows, and being the highest priced is no guarantee of not winning flows, that there is a clear relationship. What we've done is we've ranked all the managers on the left-hand side as being the lowest priced managers that we track, and the managers on the right being the highest priced managers that we track. And we can see the net flows above the chart. And we can see that managers across the board have been successful at winning flows, but they're disproportionately, they have been on the left-hand side, the lower priced managers. Having said that, I'm going to pick out 3 examples of managers who have seen success at winning flows. Firstly, here we have what we term a premium pricer. This is a market-leading manager who've got higher fees than average, and they've got a track record of investment alpha, and they can use that to justify the fees that they charge above market average through the quality of their service and the investment outperformance. Secondly, we've got what we term a discounter, a manager who's seen significant success at winning flows, and they've done so by undercutting the market across the product spectrum that they offer. And then finally, we've got an interesting case here of a promo pricer. Now, this is a manager who priced below the market for their flagship strategies, whether that's US large cap, for instance, and they do that to attract managers in the door, and then they price at or above market average for their other existing strategies, for example, maybe a global small cap strategy. Now, there's potential for success through each of these methods for managers, but which route you choose as a manager will obviously depend on a number of factors, such as your brand, your business model, and your track record of investment.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. How are asset managers targeting winning market share?
Sure. If we turn here, I'm going to slightly turn it on its head, and rather than talk about market share for AUM, I'm going to focus in on market revenue share instead. So what the chart here shows is we've broken down on the x-axis. We're looking at agreement size, a mandate size, with the smallest mandates, those mandates smaller than $50 million a piece on the left, to sort of mega-sized agreements, those larger than 750 million on the right-hand side. And what we can see is that, and we've got 3 different asset classes here: alternatives, equity, and fixed income. And whilst for alternative products, there's revenue potential across the board from small mandates, medium-sized mandates, and the larger mandates as well. However, when it comes to equity and to fixed income, we can see that over 40% of the revenues out there in the market from institutions, over 40% are in the mega-sized mandates, those larger than 750 million. Yes, margins might be a bit smaller and fees might be a bit lower, but that is still where the revenues sit out there in the market. Now, what I'm going to show you now is one example of a manager strategy who's deliberately targeting this strategy. The chart here, every grey dot on this chart represents a negotiated fee for a global equity separate account. And what we've done was we've highlighted in blue one manager's global equity strategy. And you can see that on the left-hand side, they're not picking up many mandates at all. And when they are, they're priced well above market average. However, by the time you get over to the right-hand side of the chart, those mega-sized mandates of over 750 million, they're winning a much larger proportion of those that are out there in the market. And not only that, they're priced below market average. They're undercutting the market at that higher end and making sure that they win lots of those mega-sized mandates, picking up that market revenue share. And if they pick up any smaller mandates at a very high price on the way, then great. But it's really all about those very large mandates out there in the market.
Thank you. That's really interesting. So how discerning do managers need to be when pricing for different client channels?
That's a very interesting question, and something we've been having a debate on internally as well. Certainly it's a matter of contention between the different managers that we speak to as well. Some managers do price differently for different client channels and some don't. What I'm going to argue here is that managers do need to be considering different pricing for different client channels, even if the size of the agreement is the same. If we look at the chart on the left first up, just consider the y-axis. What I've done here is we're holding a constant product and size of mandate. We're only looking at fundamental equity fees between $100 and $250 million. And with each of the dots, we can see a different client group. We can see family office priced much higher than other institutional client groups. But then between the others, we can see not-for-profits and treasuries. And then below that, we can see a few basis points below, we can see DB pensions, insurers, DC pensions. And a few basis points below that, we can see asset manager, sub-advised business, and sovereign wealth funds. So already different client groups are paying different fees for the same type of products. There are different reasons for this. For example, maybe some client groups focus more on the quality of the investment and are happy to pay an additional premium for that. Maybe family office is exactly one of those client groups. But what I'm going to focus on instead is another impact, the size of the total client relationship with a particular manager. And we can see that along the x-axis. And we can see a clear relationship developing, that those clients who have a much larger relationship with the client end up paying lower across the board. And as a result, one thing to really bear in mind, if you're an asset manager pricing for a mandate with a new client, one thing to really bear in mind is that this could just be the foot in the door. This may be the first mandate of several that you have with this one client and lead to a much larger client relationship. Some are larger than others. So we can see here, sovereign wealth funds, the average client manager relationship we track in our data set is over $1 billion. And if you see on the right-hand side, even larger than that in EMEA and in APAC. So managers really need to be considering discounting differently for different client groups off their stated fees and off their rack rates in order to win new business and then hopefully build a much larger partnership with their clients going forward.
Thank you so much, Rob. That was a really interesting insight into pricing strategies in asset management, a huge amount of detail there that you provided us. So thank you very much.